When you go to a street fair, you never really think about what's behind the event. And when you are at the Smith Street Fair, you are really at the core engine of what drove a pretty significant community development effort. My mom has run the South Brooklyn Local Development Corporation for almost 30 years. She also produces the Smith Street Fair and Bastille Day events annually. Her work has included a number of annual events, as well as many unsung community development initiatives. I always thought that the work my mom did was special. I worked with a filmmaker to make a film that sort of chronicled and demonstrated all of the different initiatives that she created.
We love Bette Stoltz. Bette, you've done so much for Smith Street. Believe me, when you first started, it didn't look like anything as it does today. You've done Brooklyn well, that's all I could say.
As part of the film, we shot a day in the life of Bette Stoltz, and we chose Smith Street Fair Day 2011 to do that.
Can you believe that the police already called me this morning to tell me their vendors were calling them to find out if there was any more space left?
Part of what was great about that is really watching my mother manage people, which was one of her great skills.
This store goes here.
Okay, good.
Hi, Artie, don't talk to me. Well, think positive. Be in a good mood.
I tried long time.
Take a Prozac.
Take a Prozac.
What can I say?
That's what you get on to. Take a Prozac, right?
You can take some hints on how to manage people at a street fair from the film we made.
How many years have you been doing this, Bette?
Oh, since 1979 when we started Seventh Heaven.
78.
78?
Mom started with street fair in the schoolyard of 321. She was an active PTA member while I was there in the 70s, and from that school fair grew Seventh Heaven, which took over most of 7th Avenue, and Mom did that for 5 years, and that's really what started her community development career. Merchants associations at that time, and that was like the late 70s, early 80s, started taking notice of the improvements in the neighborhood as a result of these public activities. So they hired her to do community development, beginning New York's community revitalization efforts after the 60s and white flight. My mom died unexpectedly last November.
What a blessing Bette was in our lives, and what a blessing it is, despite the sadness, to be here today to share it with this beautiful community of people whose lives she touched and who she inspired to do work together.
At the memorial, we had so many elected officials speaking.
When you look at this picture, you see the beautiful smile. What you don't see is the big stick that she always carried.
When my mother died, there was some question as to what was going to happen with South Brooklyn Local Development Corporation, first of all, and in particular with the street events, Sunday Fun Day and Bastille Day Pétanque Tournament. I offered to take them over this year because it seemed like the smoothest transition, and it was made clear to me that the merchants on Smith Street really did not want the small business advocacy efforts to stop, and that the street events really meant a lot to the people in that community, and they really wanted to see that continue. And now I'm producing the Smith Street Fair this year. We'll give you a 10 by 10 booth directly in front of the store. It may not be, the storefront.
Okay.
This will be you instead of this over.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Terrific.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I'm so glad to meet you. I'm so glad to
meet you too.
All right. Another thing that I've had to do throughout this experience is really promote the fair, and I really want newcomers to Brooklyn, all the occupants of the many high-rises that have gone up along Flatbush Avenue, to come discover Smith Street and Carroll Gardens. So I'm walking around flyering, leaving postcards at concierge desks, and really trying to bring awareness to how we do things in Brooklyn so that our newcomers can get a sense for community making. So that's a real indication of how things have changed, because my mom never left flyers with concierges. In the past, all the Smith Street merchants have really put their best foot forward. We've had amazing food, great live music, and some really awesome dancing just in the street. It's a party. You should come down.